ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Veronica Taylor.
Just sneaking out.
Ah, she's sneaking out.
Yeah.
So never mind, it's someone else.
Yeah, I could be anyone.
We'll never know.
I've played many characters. Yeah, so I'm kind of not. Are you going to sit up with me ever, or is it just me on all three chairs?
I mean, you can use all three chairs if you want to. You are more than welcome to do that. That is up to you.
Gosh, there's so much to. I'm never on the stage alone. Once you're a mother, you're never alone. Said Ash's mother as she said, yes, you can go on your journey. My 10-year-old son. This is good. You can all, I can see you. That's a more important thing. So maybe I will sit. So excited.
This one's better.
That one's better?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Even though I don't need it.
Yeah. Does that seem good? Can you hear that? Not sure why it's quiet.
It's quiet.
Can you hear it from the speakers?
Because I don't really have coverage.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be picking up on the sound as well as the other one is.
No, you're really loud.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh, thank you.
I'm talking to the one. And here is the other one. This is louder now. Here's, would you like one? Or two? Two. One. This reminds you of eye doctors. Two is better. Oh my God, that's too loud. Too loud. I'll just talk like this. Yeah, does that, I don't want anyone's ears to be bleeding when they leave.
Is this a good volume?
I think so. Does it suit you? All right. Then yeah, we've got a winner.
No one has ever clapped when someone said number 2.
Just saying. All right. All feeling regular. Let's go on to something else. Okay, awesome. Thank you all so much for coming to my panel, our panel. I'm so thrilled to be here in Tampa, and especially after everything that you all have been going through with hurricane, and I know this heat is normal, but it's still hot outside. You know, I really appreciate it, and I'm just happy to be here as part of this whole coming together, let's say. Gosh, watching all of those hurricanes kind of barreling towards you, I was with you all the way, but a bit drier and not as afraid. So anyway, I'm here in that odd solidarity that we all have of going through these horrible things and knowing that you're not alone, and then we all kind of come together and see how we can be as helpful as possible to one another. So in an effort to help you, I'm going to answer your questions. That's what I can do feebly today.
Which is a lot.
Well, we'll see. Let's wait till you hear what the answers are. So we just open it up. Anyone has a question, we'll just start from there. And then this panel is for you, whatever you want to know. So off we go.
Hands, anyone? Hands, questions? But
There we go.
There are no bad questions, and if there are, we'll laugh at you.
All right.
No, definitely not.
Hello.
Hi.
Wow, that's loud.
Oh yeah, nice shirt. I didn't notice that before.
Okay. So this is something I've been wondering. How is it that you and other voice actresses like Nancy Cartwright and Tara Strong, how is it that you're able to capture us so well? Because like, you know, like you hear a guy trying to voice a girl, it's so painfully obvious, but like, you know, like you with Ash or Nancy Cartwright with Bart Simpson,
Right.
like it sounds like an actual voice. So how are you guys able to like pull that off exactly?
I don't know if it's fully conscious. I know for myself as an actor, I try to embody the character. And I don't really see, there are definitely differences between men and women and sheep and chickens and, you know, whatever. But ultimately, we all are, it's what drives us, who we are. And that's what I try to bring about as an actor. Ash is a 10-year-old, which I think we can all tap into. But he is someone who was excited to be going on a journey and trying to figure out how to get his goals and what does that mean. And I played a lot of sports, and I'm a certified stage combatant, so I know a lot about actual fighting, stage fighting. So all of that kind of helps me get in those sneakers, if you will. Ash's voice, we had to match the original Japanese voices as much as possible, or as closely as possible in the beginning.
So you know, if Ash is kind of around in here, it's because he's got that energy. And I don't know if you're like that all the time at home, but I am.
But I think it's because I can, you know, I narrate a lot of audiobooks, and I have to play all the characters. So it's really about getting the essence of the person, rather than how low can I get my voice to be a man, or how high to get it as a 2-year-old girl, you know? So it's really to figure out what the energy is. And luckily, I've had the opportunity to do that. I played Jim Hawkins on stage for Children's Theater for Treasure Island, so I've gotten to be a boy on stage and then behind the mic as well. So I've been really lucky with some of the opportunities I've had.
Hi.
I know, you're very present.
Thank you for being here. My question is, if you could share with us, Pokemon is about going on a journey, and I'd like to hear about your own journey about when Pokemon, like before Pokemon, and then when it blew up, and kind of what that was like for you, and if there's anything that you wish you knew then that you know now, kind of professionally. So thank you.
Okay. My life was nothing before Pokemon, as was your lives. Nothing. I started acting when I was 5. This is my short synopsis, and I worked on every play I could do. I played soccer, I took dance classes, all that stuff, and all the way through high school. I went to college, and I have a bachelor's in acting. I toured the country for 2 years with an acting company, doing Shakespeare and contemporary plays. Then I went to grad school for 3 years, and I have a master's in acting. And then I moved to New York City. I was working on a soap when I got the audition for Pokemon. Also at the same time, when I was cast in, sorry, I'm finishing this echinacea thing, because I don't want to get sick. So can you understand me why I choose this weird bit in here? So sorry. It's really like my living room. Like you're sitting here. Yeah, so anyway, I'm so sorry. I've lost my mind. Anyway, so I was working on that, and my daughter was born at the end of the first season. So Pokemon for me, there really was kind of pre-Pokemon and post, because I was just a person who thought mostly about myself, and then I became a mother. And I had a role that I was cast in for a year. And then I was cast in for the next year, and the next year, and the next. And we never knew if the show would go on past that season. So at the end of every season, we would just wait to find out. And luckily, it went for 8 years before we were replaced. Having a job for that long was an incredible thing. And I guess the only thing I wish I had known now, in a way, is that if I had known then I would have it for 8 years, I couldn't have relaxed, because I'm an actor and you have to keep finding work, but I could have relaxed to know this will go on for a little while, so just be here. Instead of, my life is a crazy mishmash of many different jobs. When I was working on Pokemon, I could have 5 other jobs that day. Much like all of you, it's all kind of figuring out how are you going to pay the rent, what can you do to be on your journey, to fulfill your goals, to kind of reach wherever you're reaching for. So I think Pokemon taught me how important it is to be positive, how important teamwork is, and that you can achieve your goals while you're helping others achieve theirs. These are things I think we all kind of know, but working on Pokemon and specifically being Ash really taught me to realize the importance of those. And having my own little Pikachu of a daughter around, I had to really balance things and realize how you have to work with another. So my goals were not as important as suddenly her goals were. So my career is kind of so entwined in field trips and I don't know, reading books and all those things that you do with a sibling or your child or your pet. So I think ultimately it taught me the importance of being in the moment. And this is like the gift that keeps on giving, because the fact that we all loved Pokemon so much, it was something that's like, it's hard to explain the importance that it's had in all of our lives, even though I have gone on for 5 minutes trying to explain it. The thing is that this is our starting point. We come together with our love for this, and then we realize we have so much more in common. And I've been on my own little Pokemon journey around the world for, gosh, next year will be 20 years. I did my first convention in 2002, and it was right after September 11th, essentially, because it was, by the time they booked me, that was like January, so I didn't know if, should I travel, should I not, and I took the lead, as you all have taken the lead, and we're here. And it just keeps going, and to be an actor and get a chance to meet all of you and hear your stories, it has changed my life. That's the end before I cry. Too early in this to start. But it's been incredible, really.
So,
Yes?
I've been a fan of Pokemon my whole life, and the character you created has always been an inspiration for me to just have fun and stuff. So I always wondered, do you enjoy the fame that comes with being the voice of so many characters, not just like your famous ones like Ash Ketchum, but also other work you've done over the years? Do you like the fame?
Well, in this room, I'm famous, but in my real life, I'm not at all. So it has absolutely no impact on my life whatsoever in real time. I try to make it important. Or like, I'm like, oh, I see people playing Pokemon Go, and I go, hey, are you playing Pokemon Go? They're like, yeah, yes, we are. I used to play Ash, and they're like, that's cool, back to their game. So it's not like, you see, I try to work it as much as possible, but it doesn't really get me anywhere. I think some auditions I have gotten could have been because I played Ash, let's say, or that I've done other things, but I recently moved to Los Angeles 3 years ago, and it is like completely starting my career over. So it hasn't, all the work that I've done in New York has not helped me so far get work in LA. So it's an interesting thing, again, that I think we can all take. You have to just be in the moment, be the best you can be, and hope that in that moment it helps you out. I've gotten so much experience from the work I've done that I have a confidence in auditioning that I didn't have when I started out. I know how to put on the headphones and where to line myself up with the mic and how to take direction and all of that. But ultimately, my kind of fame is not really, it's pretty non-existent. But I don't mind that.
I have the question, why did you choose to be the voice of Ash Ketchum?
I didn't choose, I think it chose me really. I got the audition just out of the blue, and then we got to watch a clip of it, and then we had to kind of try to match the voices. And we really had that 1 minute of watching something on a loop, and then we auditioned. So I loved right away though the animation style. I loved the colors and the energy of it, and I honestly want every role I audition for. But I felt like this was something special. But it was just a feeling. Otherwise, I audition for a lot of things that I don't get. But I attack it like I'm already working on the show. Yeah, I didn't choose it, but thank goodness it chose me.
What inspired you to go into voice acting?
I've always wanted to be an actor, really, since I was 5. I was doing a play, and in the middle of that play, I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I've always tried to be an actor. So me being a voice actor is not what I ever aspired toward. I just wanted to be a working actor. And it just happens that when Pokemon started and my daughter was born, most of my auditions after that were voice related. And I didn't have time to do a play because I couldn't get out at night. And even on this soap I was working on, you could be there 12 hours. You didn't know when you were getting out, and all of that stuff was difficult because I had to go and pick her up, or I couldn't leave her with a babysitter that long, you know, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. You know, when your kid's crying, you gotta get home, or happy, and you really have to get home. My career just kind of turned that way on its own. But cartoons are something I've always loved, so I'm really happy to be doing that. But I do a million things. I do audiobooks, cartoons, phone answering systems. I do English language programs. I do a gazillion things as a voice actor.
I just had a question with the video game voice actors.
Yeah.
Right now are kind of fighting, for lack of a better term,
On strike.
They're on strike.
But the strike
yeah.
is just lifted now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, was there anything that you've included in your contracts that to help take care of your instrument?
There's nothing that you can include. The contracts come from them, and that's what you have to accept.
That was their problem too, yeah.
Yes, it's the way it is for everybody. It's not really, when you're lucky enough to get a contract, and nobody really cares about you, which is why you have a contract, which is why you have an agent who helps to fight for you. But ultimately, again, this applies to all of us, you have to take care of yourself, so you have to learn how to protect yourself for certain things. But in video games, there is a lot of yelling, and there's a lot of just like shrieking. And you know, you can pull back from the mic and kind of adjust it, but when you're doing, you know, usually when you get a video game script, you just see your lines, and you have reacts, like fall, small, medium, large, and you have to do like, you know, as you're falling, I think, climbing, hitting, being hit, shrieking when you're dying, and you have all of those, like a long one, a short one, and you have to do all of those all in a chunk. So if you're working with someone who appreciates what you're going through, you can stagger that through the day. Otherwise, it's just all jumbled on at the end. It depends who's in the room with you. So yeah, it can be really bad. Or like silly. If you're on Super Mario, you're just like bouncing around. You know, it's just like, yes. That was not my impression. I'm not trying to get on Super Mario.
How do you know about Pokemon?
How do I know about it? Well, I know about it from working on the show when I was playing Ash. I don't know as much as you probably know about it because when I recorded the shows, I just recorded my lines, so I didn't get to see the whole episode. So I only know about a quarter of what goes on Pokemon. I don't know how to play the card games. I've played Pokemon Red and Pokemon Go. So my knowledge is limited. I know how to pronounce most of them, so that makes me a Pokemon master.
Hi. I have a question pertaining to voice acting.
Yes.
I was wondering, for someone who has an interest in getting into voice acting and just acting in general,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them to get them started?
Yeah, so I can only talk from my background, and I think you want to get as much training as you possibly can. And that's the same thing on whatever you want to do in any creative field. And probably in any field, actually. If you want to be a scientist, you should probably get a lot of experience scientisting. But for me, I think taking acting classes, improv classes, I think movement, dance, stage combat has been really helpful to me. Anything that really fills out you as an actor. Because you never know what job is going to come up. I don't think anyone should just say, I want to be a voice actor, because it's really hard to do that. And there's also not that much work. And my life, as I said, I scrounge around and I do so many different things that all of that is acting-wise. And I know some people from doing a play with them, and then I got involved in this. And you know, all of that. So you want to be able to do everything. Not just go, I only want to do cartoons, I won't do film. Because really, if a job comes up, you want to take it. Networking is the next thing. You work with as many people as you possibly can. Sometimes that means volunteering for things. I used to work for Jewish Guild for the Blind. I would go in and read Entertainment Weekly or the New York Times for people who are sight impaired, and they could listen to that on the radio, I believe it was on. So things like that I volunteered for. Cold reading skills it's the most important thing in the world. But you already, from your acting training, know how to build a character, how to work through a scene so you know what your objective is, and the different ways to go about getting that. All of that comes from your training, and when you get into the booth, you don't have any time. You get the script and you start. So it all has to be second nature. And the third thing is you want to make a demo so that you have about a minute or a minute and a half showcasing what you do. If you go on voicebank.net, you can see what a lot of other actors have on their commercial or their animation demos. That way you have something to send to people when they say, oh yeah, well send me your reel. Those are the three top things. Training, network, demo. Wait.
Hello?
Wait for the official line. Yes?
When you say that you, how long does it take to actually to do the voice for the Pokemon? Like how much time, when you do like when they do an episode,
Sure.
like how does that work? Because you mentioned that you only say your lines.
Right, it depends on how many lines you have. So when I was working on the show, in the very beginning, I was playing Ash. And that in the very beginning could take 4 hours, depending on how many lines there are. Ultimately, you're getting it down to maybe 30 lines an hour. So if there's a lot of guest characters on the show, Ash would have fewer lines. When I was playing Ash and May and Ash's mom and some other people, then I could be there for longer. I would say most sessions, 4 hours is the max for that. But it really all depends.
What are some of your favorite lines from season 1, and are you able to like say them out like right now? Could you?
I don't know what you mean about season 1. It's all one big journey. Let's see. Pikachu, I choose you. What? Team Rocket?
I don't know, I think he said that a lot to me. Nice scurrying. Yes,
Can you say all the Pokemon sounds that you know?
All the Pokemon sounds I know.
No, that's all, I cannot say that.
At least one of
See
them?
how I got around that? I don't ever do Pokemon sounds. You can do those. Because I don't, around my house, of course, I do that, but I don't, what I played was Goldeen, Goldeen, or
Tiggly, 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 tiggly.
those are my ones. And Sentret also. So that's it. No, otherwise, I can't do a Pikachu thing for you. Because there's so many really actual, the woman who does Pikachu is so amazing that I would never do that unless you were at my house.
Hi. So by the time when the Hoenn saga came around and you were doing both Ash and May in lead roles, like
Yes.
how did that look on paper?
Just, we see the whole script, and then you just kind of skim down, and I would do all of Ash's lines, then all of May's, and then any other character I was playing. So, so then on those lucky days, I would lay down the Ash track, and then I could actually respond to Ash. So that was pretty lucky. Otherwise, I was responding to nothing most of the time. So it's all in your imagination.
Like back and forth.
No, when I do an audiobook, it's always back and forth. When I was working on Turtles, or gosh, I work on Ollie and Moon. It's a show on Sprout now. I play multiple characters, and we always go back and forth on that. So it's more like a radio play or an audiobook. Yes.
What is the hardest Pokemon to pronounce for you? Like,
Gosh, that's a hard one. You know, in the beginning, they were also deciding how they would be pronounced. So we'd start the episode one way, and we'd have to go back because they'd decide it wasn't right. And in the very beginning, it was hard to remember what the correct pronunciation was. I don't know, I stopped, or we were replaced after season 8, so there's a lot of Pokemon now that I'm not sure how to pronounce those. Because they have a lot of letters in them. You've got like Snorlax, that's pretty. Jigglypuff, those are pretty easy. Do you have a difficult one?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like Regice or Regice.
Yeah, that's right. That's past my time. See, I got out early. I guess that was good for me. Yes.
So, what is your favorite Pokemon?
Pikachu. That's, yeah. And I think Pikachu would get angry if I chose something else anyway. And you know, nobody wants that.
In your experience of like just in Pokemon and beyond that, was there ever a line, like, or maybe an experience in the sound booth that you kind of stuck out to you? Like maybe it doesn't need to be like a good one, maybe just like, oh, I flubbed a line and it just kind of didn't come out right, or maybe there was some really crazy experience you had during a recording session that just like, just sounded crazy.
Well, there are those times when you just can't get your mouth around a certain sentence and you're saying it like 10 times and it just doesn't come out. And sometimes you have to just pace it differently or put a weird breath in. I don't know, it's like you're working scientifically to get something to sound right. I was working on His and Her Circumstances, and on this show, it was a series that went to video, I guess maybe DVD. And Yukino was she was out there, a normal high school student, but angry this minute, happy this minute, crying, all over the place. And she sometimes had these things where the background is kind of spinning around and she's just going, ah, some screaming thing. It's important to breathe in moments like that, and I didn't. And so I was like, yelling away, and then I just fainted. So the sad thing is, when you are in a studio, there's just a big window, and they are out there, the engineer and director, and I'm in here standing, and then suddenly I was just gone. And then I'm just crawling back up going, I'm fine, after I just kind of came to. Luckily it didn't take too long. But that's how much I'll give of myself for a character. I haven't done that again.
So every season they bring back old returning characters, like this recent season they brought back Misty and Brock.
Oh yeah.
So every time they bring back an old character and they bring back the older voice actors for them, is it kind of like... Oh, they don't? Oh, never mind. But
yeah, I don't think they have. That's a sad thing. I wish they did. Like with the movie that's coming, I wish they would choose me for that, because it is Ash in the very beginning and all of that. I wish that they would do that. So far I don't know that they have. It's unfortunate. For me, just for me. Yes. Hi.
I know there's a lot of Pokemon, but besides Ash,
Yeah.
what was your favorite role?
I played Amelia in Slayers, which I loved because she's so out there and, I'm here and fun and magical. So I loved that. I love playing April on Ninja Turtles. She's very, I'm out in the world. I don't sit at my computer so much to do stuff, and she was very computer savvy. So that was a good thing for me to pretend I was too. I just don't have the interest in something like that. I play the spy from 8i on Welcome to the Wayne now, and she's the most evil character, although I think she thinks she's doing good, but she's the most evil character I've ever played, and that's really fun. I am on a show called Ollie and Moon right now for little kids on Sprout, and I play most of the other female and some male characters on that show that are not the two main ones. And that's a great thing to not know what I'm going to be doing any episode and just kind of jump in. I really like that. It's like working on an audiobook where because you're playing all the characters, you get to kind of create this quilt, or this collage for each book. And for Ollie and Moon, every time I just, go in my little booth and we just create something.
and it's really exciting. I love everything I've worked on, though, I will be honest.
Okay, so what do you think is like the best best thing to portray or show off not show off, but show in voice acting?
What's the best thing to show up? Maybe versatility, you mean? Something like that. I think it's one thing I like is to be able to play all different ages. I like that
I could be a really small baby. And then I could be, you know, Ash Ketchum, and then maybe his grandmother.
You know, stuff like that. That's what I think is kind of fun to be able to. But it's all in your imagination. You know, everything, because even as I'm goofing around here, I have a picture of that in my mind and kind of what the whole person looks like so that I can flip around through it, but I visualize it all. So the great thing for me is using my imagination all the time, which is good.
Hi, so my question is, have you ever met any of your Japanese counterparts, whether Ash Ketchum voice actor or Carly's voice actor from Studio 5Ds?
I haven't met anyone who has done originally any of the shows I've worked on, ever. That would be one of my goals, is to do that. I've never been to Japan. I don't know how often those actors come to the US, but I've not had the chance to meet any of them yet.
So have you ever, even after you were done on shows like Turtles and Pokemon, did you ever watch the ones, like the newer ones that came out after your time on them?
I probably watched one episode of Pokemon once we were replaced, and I'm not mature enough to handle that. I loved being on that show, and just seeing familiar faces, even though the animation style has changed now, it's just too much for me to hear such different voices. It makes me really sad. And maybe it would be different if we all had said, I don't want to work on the show anymore, good luck. But the way that we were replaced was just, I don't know, that probably plays a part in it. I've seen some of the new Ninja Turtles. I've seen some of the movies, Ninja Turtle movies, you know, all of that stuff. I didn't originate it in the 80s. So I'm kind of, you know, I always pay homage to the original, and then I got a chance to be in it, and so I do like seeing what they've done with it since. I was on One Piece on 4Kids, and they now do that at Funimation, so that's kind of another weird thing. Some of those shows I just don't watch after that. Wings Club, that one was recast too when it moved. A lot of things just kind of go on. So I try to focus ahead, what I'm doing next, what I could possibly be doing next. And I don't rewatch a lot of that, but I do rewatch sometimes Pokemon that I was on. I gotta admit, yeah, it's on Netflix.
So it's been about a day and a half here at Megacon, and we just saw Stanley auction off some of his most prized items.
Yes.
What's been the overall atmosphere at Megacon been like for you, and what does Megacon mean to you here in Tampa Bay?
Well, I've never been to Tampa Bay. I've never been here before, and I'm awed by how beautiful it is. I just can't get over it. And last night I was at Tampa Theater, that gorgeous building that you thankfully have saved. It's amazing in there. So I do think I was at Oxford Exchange. That's another incredible place, and I think, you know, you have these beautiful channels here, and nature is a big part, the beautiful architecture and the history. That's something that stood out to me, and I find that people that I've met from here are just that way too, thoughtful, artistic. That's been amazing to me. Gosh, I don't know, I've only been here for, it could be almost 24 hours now, not quite. I've crammed in as much as I could, but I might go back to Oxford Exchange. So that's what I think so far of this. The convention is great. There's people from all over Florida coming. Mostly I've met people just from Florida, actually. I don't think, is there anyone here from out of state? Yes? Did we meet? No, not yet. See, I wasn't lying. Where are you from?
Tennessee.
Oh, welcome. What part?
The Middle Tennessee.
Middle.
Right below Nashville.
Is Nashville in the middle? Oh, I always think of it as, anyway, let's talk later. Do you know where War Trace is?
Not really.
Oh, well, then you should go there. We'll talk. That's my favorite place in Tennessee. So yeah, so far, that's my favorite thing.
Besides Pikachu, what's your favorite Pokemon?
Okay, Charizard. Isn't Charizard yours? Yeah. So yeah, that's my favorite too.
Now, this is just a question of sheer curiosity, but have you ever had an opportunity to speak at any colleges or universities?
I have, in Texas actually, University of Texas at Dallas. I'm open to having a discussion there, or workshops and things like that. I do feel like, you know, we're at a time now where everything is accessible on the internet, meaning tutorials of this and blah, blah, blah of this, and someone may watch what we're doing here today at home, but there's nothing like sitting down face to face and having your question answered, and in a way that really addresses what your concerns are. So I think at this point, it's great to go to colleges or high schools to talk to people about what options there are out there. And there's a lot of stress about doing certain things to fit into the mold, and my whole life has been outside the mold, really, with a lot of mold. I don't want to talk about that, but you know what I mean? So that you can understand that there are options, and you have to let your mind wander and dream a little bit to see what you might end up doing. So I welcome the chance to speak at, you know, here or at a university, something like that, to kind of go along with what's being taught.
What are some upcoming projects you're excited for that you're working on?
Well, I'm still working on Welcome to the Wayne. I think that show is pretty unique, and they're doing a lot with it, which I don't even fully understand. But the animation is incredible, and they have hidden these Easter egg things all throughout the show, and so I'm interested to see kind of how that pans out. That I'm working on. I'm still working on Ollie and Moon. I'm working on Sailor Moon. Moony Moon. I have some other anime shows that I'm working on. So really, the easy answer is I'm excited to be working. I kind of, usually an audiobook I find out about maybe 3 days to a week ahead of time, and then I start prepping it and start working on it. So at the moment I don't have something next week, but hopefully I will the following week. I'm doing a benefit reading in San Francisco next weekend. That's going to be great. You know, like, I just really like working. So that's my answer.
Mentioning that you do audiobooks, is there a book that stood out to you that was kind of your favorite project to work on?
Well, I got to record Judy Blume's The Pain and the Great One, which is a small series, and then I recorded her latest book, In the Unlikely Event, which was for adults, and she rarely writes for adults. And that was an incredible book about these 2 plane crashes that happened in New Jersey, near where she lived, near Newark, kind of. And I thought that was an incredible book to narrate. She's one of the most amazing writers. I do this Amish murder mystery, and I'm on maybe the 7th or 8th book in the series, and that is a book that I couldn't even leave my couch. I was so scared reading it the first time, and I couldn't go to my bed. I had to sleep on the couch. And so I would never have read these books in my real life because I just don't like any violence or blood or anything, and it's kind of my guilty pleasure that I have to read them. Linda Castillo is an amazing writer. So it's like that kind of thing, to be able to, in that sense, jump into the author's shoes and read the book as I think they might have read it if they had chosen to read it themselves. I love to create those worlds. I did some of the Warrior Cats books, and to have 120 cats, you know, I don't know why you have to put so many in a book, when some of them say one line and some, you know, but those are really cool to do also.
Hi. Okay, so can I just, because you can manipulate your voice to do all these wonderful sounds. Have you ever, and you said you're famous in this room, but not really outside of this room, have you ever just like thrown someone off and been like talking in your normal and like, or like prank phone calls?
Yeah, no, you know what I do a lot is I do different accents, but the problem is you have to hold on to that. So if I'm calling my regular restaurant to order takeout, you can't like go, yeah, I'm gonna have the pasta and let's make a pesto sauce on it. And but then when you get there, you have to keep using that accent. So when they see your face, then they know you're lying. But a lot of times I do weird accent things, like at the toll booth or stuff like that. It makes my nieces laugh, so that's why I do it. That's more of what I do than kind of like a baby voice. Although, if I know someone is calling my house that doesn't know me, then I could pretend I'm my own child. I do that sometimes. Like my mom's not home, that kind of thing. Yeah, sometimes I do.
Aside from all the voice acting, have you done anything live action?
Yeah, I've done a lot of plays actually. Since my daughter was born, I do more readings, which don't require a lot of rehearsal time. So, and a bunch of us who were on Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, we all did we did a show a few years ago in New York. But before that, I did a lot of theater. I toured the U.S. with for a few years, actually, with children's theater and adult theater. And then I worked on a soap. I've done some movie stuff. I do some commercial things. So it's kind of all over there. But now that my daughter's in college, I have a little more free time. I don't have to make her lunch anymore. So now my career's kind of starting to spread back out again.
I'm not seeing any hands at the moment, but I have a question.
Okay.
So obviously you're very talented actors and whatnot. You've got a lot of different.
Can you say that louder? Because no, I'm just
very so talented. Anyway, but I was wondering, do you have any sort of skills or talents that the average person might not think to know? Like, hey, guess what? I can also do this.
Well, I'm an awesome soccer player, since no one's seen me play. Let's just say really good. I played actually through college, and I was captain of my soccer team in my senior year of college. I cannot whistle, so even though I was with a 3- and 5-year-old the other day who could whistle better than I, so I'm really bad. I'm also only level 8 in Pokemon Go, so I'm not the Pokemon master you thought I was. I love to draw and paint, and I do a lot of art at home, and I make those little Pokemon cards that I'm giving out at my table with my daughter. Gosh, I don't know, I like to travel a lot, and I like to eat. How about that? I'm really interested in kind of the farm to table movement around the country and around the world, for where I travel, and I really like having the opportunity to go to conventions and then kind of explore the community and see how we can all come together a little bit more. So I want to be a member of the UN, I'd like to be a goodwill ambassador.
Hi. Hold on a second.
I like your costume.
Thank you so much.
This is a testament to how we all just appreciate and accept all of us just as we are. And I really love that you have that mask on. That's just amazing. So, anyway, go ahead.
So first off, I just want to say I really admire your whole, mentality of always looking forward and hoping for the future. But just out of curiosity, are there any roles in the past that you have any regrets doing, or conversely, any roles that you wish you could have done?
Well, I do audition for so many things that I don't get cast in. So every single thing I audition for, I wish I had gotten the chance to do it. I would say I don't have any regrets of things I've worked on, but there were things that I wish I had known more about before I started on it. Some things I'm cast in, like one time I was working on a show and we went through the whole thing, and the character was a boy, and it turned out at the end that it was a girl disguised as a boy. And I wish I had known that. I wish the director had known that. And so I said, I think we're gonna have to go back and do some. No, it's fine, you're fine. It came through, so like something like that, I wish I had known a little bit more, but that's where some projects I work on are just, you work really fast and there's no prep for any of it. There's no watching it ahead or anything like that. I like to be as prepared as possible, and that I did not like.
Alrighty, before I jump into this gentleman right here's question, we do have about 5 minutes left, so if you have any last minute questions, this is the 5-minute warning.
Well, it's a good thing that I saved this for sort of the end because it might be a little bit long. So Pokemon has been the biggest part of my life ever since I was 8 years old. And during high school, I was bullied a lot, and I started suffering from depression and whatnot. And Pokemon is what really helped me get through those tough times,
Yeah, it is your comfort show that you can come home to it
Yeah.
and lose yourself in that and be Ash.
And exactly, I'm wearing the original hat and everything. And it was that my freshman year of high school was the year that I found out you all were being replaced, and it was heartbreaking. It really was, knowing that the show that I love was not going to be the same after the advanced battle.
Right.
And because you and Rachel and Eric and the late Maddie Blaustein, may she rest in peace, she was wonderful as Meow.
Amazing, yeah. Has so many characters.
Damien and Bill and
Yeah.
everybody that she voiced.
Right.
And it's because of Pokemon now that I want to actually move to Japan and teach kids English. And it was when I first laid eyes on Pokemon that I realized, you know what? Japan and Japanese culture, this is what I want to get into. This is what I want to be. This is the journey that I'm going to go on. Like Ash wanting to be a Pokemon master, I want to be an English teacher in Japan. And maybe one day you'll go over there and finally get to meet Ikuya Otani, the voice of Pikachu.
Right, I hope so, yeah.
Because I remember one video I saw on YouTube where you were saying something like, if you muted everybody's voices and just had Pikachu's voice, it would be like...
Totally satisfied.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and what she can do with just 3 syllables.
Yeah. So pretty much the whole thing I'm wanting to get out of this is just say thank you for 8 amazing years, and I feel like I'm a much better person because you guys had pretty much had been there from 8 years old up to about 15.
Right. Well, good luck to you.
Thank
I think
you.
it's an amazing thing too how Pokemon has found a way to inspire us all in many ways, and that we come together and talk about it, and you just don't know where your path is going to go, but we're all on that journey.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Veronica.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. How come you never appeared in the newer Pokemon shows? I've noticed that you...
Yeah, we were replaced after season 8 when Pokemon USA took the show, so there's not been a chance for me to. Yeah. Yeah, they decided to replace us.
Alright. So you keep bringing up your daughter. I couldn't help but wondering, has she expressed any interest in acting, or?
Yep, she and I both played Sentret, as a matter of fact. She was very small. I was holding her up to the microphone. She's done some voiceover stuff, and she's an art major right now in college. And I don't know, she's incredibly creative. I don't have enough time to go on about how great my daughter is, so I would just say, usually she's here with me so that I have to be more modest, but she's pretty amazing. I could not have asked for a better travel, and that's for sure. Changed my life.
In regards to being replaced, what's like good life advice for bouncing back after something like that?
So I think, again, only from my experience, but being replaced on the show is certainly not the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. And I'm sure every single one of us in this room has something that they can pinpoint as the most horrible moment that they really needed to figure out how to get over. And if you can't, I'm so happy for you. But there's horrible things that we deal with all the time. And even this past hurricane is is one fine example, and how things can change in a second. The only thing for me, I find, is to focus on what is my purpose? Why am I here? And what can I do to make a bigger difference in the world? Because I find, gosh, it's easy for me to be depressed about things too. And you have to figure out, you have to get so outside yourself and think of the bigger picture. For me, that's the only thing that helps. And also that I still have to be there for my family, meaning my daughter, my parents, my extended family. And the only thing that's pulled me through the really bad times is to just re-examine my purpose. And that's helped. And then you have your friends to help pull you through as well.
So I arrived to this panel a little late, but
welcome. You're always welcome.
So what's your least favorite line? Like, just from any show, like least favorite line?
Gosh, the only thing I can think of now is "you're fired," but that takes on a bigger thing right now. That's the only thing. I don't really have any least favorite, except that I did get tired of Ash always saying,
Pikachu, use Thunderbolt! Thunderbolt, Pikachu! Pikachu, Thunderbolt!
So often! I just was like, could we just use something else? I would say that's the only thing that I got a little tired of. But otherwise, when you're in the moment and you can't change the line, you just have to say it.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have today.
All day tomorrow. If you still have questions, I have another panel tomorrow at noon, conveniently here. This has been an extraordinary experience. Thank you guys for sharing your time and your questions. And I just want to say,
Megacon Tampa!